The engines are the J2, JT, and D4BH TCI engines. The K2700 truck and 12-person Pregio coach are equipped with the J2 engine. The K3000S truck and the 15-person coach are equipped with the JT engine, especially for some countries where the JTA engine is installed. The K2500 truck is equipped with D4BH engine. The D4BH engine can be installed for the 12-person coach exported to European nations having strict emission regulations. In this video, we'll focus on the D4BH engine equipped with KIA F electronic injection pump. The D4BH engine. The displacement volume is 2,475 cc's. The maximum output is 94 horsepower at 3,800 RPM. The maximum torque is 22.5 kilograms meter at 2,000 RPMs, and the compression ratio is 20.5 to 1. For the fuel system, the KIA F system pump, which is a kind of electronic injection pump, is installed. Second, the engine structure. The D4BH engine is shown on the screen. The EGR cooler is installed at the EGR system, the recirculation system of the exhausted gas, to minimize the NOx emission. In order to enhance the intake efficiency of the engine, the turbocharger and the intercooler are installed so it can generate high output power. Now, the timing belt of the D4BH engine is shown on the screen. The timing marks are all 5 points. When you assemble the timing belt, set the timing mark as shown on the screen. First, the timing mark for assembling the connecting belt between the crankshaft pulley and the balance shaft pulley. Next, the timing mark for assembling the connecting belt of the crank pulley, the camshaft pulley, and the injection pump pulley. Third, the fuel system. The fuel system of the D4BH engine is equipped with the KIA F injection pump. The KIA F injection pump is the electronic injection pump electrically modified from the VE injection pump of Bosch. Let's study about the fuel line configuration of the KIA F system. The diesel fuel stored into the tank is supplied to the injection pump through the fuel filter. The fuel filter assembly comprises of the filter element filtering out the foreign materials and the priming pump supplying the fuel in manual. At the front side of the injection pump, the feed pump for fuel injecting is installed. Fuel injected by the feed pump will be filled at the high-pressure chamber of the injection pump. At that time, if the fuel cut solenoid is energized, then the inlet port is opened so that the fuel in the high-pressure chamber is supplied to the distribution chamber. The fuel supplied to the distribution chamber is sent to the nozzle while being pressed by the reciprocal rotational movement of the plunger through the delivery valve and then sprayed into the chamber. The remaining fuel after spraying at the nozzle and exhausted fuel at the overflow valve of the injection pump is returned into the fuel tank. Fourth, engine management system. The input and output block diagram of the KIA K system. At the input side, there are sensors installed at the injection pump, such as the NP sensor, CSP sensor, and fuel temperature sensor, and the sensors installed at the body, such as the acceleration position sensor and coolant temperature sensor and switches. Receiving signals from these sensors, the ECM controls the GE actuator and the timing control valve, as well as the fuel cut solenoid, EGR valve, glow plug, glow lamp, and the engine check lamp. The locations of the ECM are shown on the screen. The ECM location of the K2700 truck. The ECM location of the PREGIO coach. First, let's look at the important sensors. At the injection pump, the NP sensor, control sleeve position sensor, timer position sensor, and fuel temperature sensor are installed at the injection pump. Sensing the RPM of the injection pump, the NP sensor sends this signal to the ECM. Then the ECM treats this signal as a sub-signal of the engine speed. The control sleeve position sensor, located at the upper part of the GE actuator, is the sensor to feedback checking if the electrical governor is operating correctly. The timing position sensor is located at the lower pressure side of the timer and detects the position of the timer piston to perform the feedback control. The fuel temperature sensor is located inside of the injection pump and detects the fuel temperature to compensate the fuel amount. Let's study about the sensors equipped to the vehicle. The acceleration position sensor is located at the upper portion of the accelerator. Inside the accelerator position sensor unit, there are two idle switches. The sensor connector is comprised of 5 terminals. 3 terminals of them are the terminals for sensors, and 2 terminals are the terminals for the idle switch. The output of the acceleration position sensor is shown in this figure. When the pedal is not pressed, it will be 0.38 volts. When the pedal is pressed fully, it will be 4.2 volts. If the output voltage is less than 0.2 volts or more than 4.93 volts, it is treated as a sensor malfunction, and it will be in the limp home mode. In the limp home mode, when the idle switch is off, the ECM supplies fuel with 10%, whereas when the idle switch is on, the ECM will cut the fuel off. Using the limp home function, the driver can move the failed vehicle near to a workshop. The crankshaft position sensor is the main sensor detecting engine RPM, and it's installed at the transmission to detect the rotation of the flywheel. If the crankshaft position sensor fails, then the ECM calculates the engine RPM with the output of the NP sensor. If these 2 sensors both fail at the same time, then the engine will be stopped. The coolant temperature sensor is installed at the same position with which the engine with the conventional VE injection pump is equipped. The ECM compensates the fuel amount according to the coolant temperature and determines the preheating time. The boost pressure sensor and the air temperature sensor are in one body. These sensors are installed at the intake manifold and detect the temperature and pressure of the intake air. As an input element, a compensation resistor is installed at the injection pump. The compensation resistor has the same function with the full load adjustment screw of the VE pump. As the compensation resistor is sealed, it cannot be touched unless in a special injection pump shop having exclusive equipment. Be careful if this seal is damaged, as the warranty will be voided. Now, I'll explain about the important output devices, such as the GE actuator, that is the electric governor, and the timer control valve. The GE actuator, that is the electrical governor, is installed at the upper part of the injection pump and controls the fuel injection amount. The ECM plays the role of increasing or decreasing the fuel amount by moving the control sleeve to the left or right direction by rotating the governor shaft, of which center is eccentricity using the duty control. The TCV, or the timer control valve, is installed at the rear side of the injection pump and controls the fuel injecting timing. The ECM varies the amount of the valve opening according to the duty and current value and moves the timer piston to the left or right side to control the fuel injecting timing. Finally, I'll introduce the engine current data of the HiScan Pro. Current data is comprised of 20 items. I'll explain about some important data. The electronic governor shows the position of the control sleeve, which is changing the fuel amount. The target injection is the proper fuel amount to the engine load. The numeric number shown on the screen is the value acquired at every stroke of 1,000 times because the fuel amount for one stroke is too small. The timer position sensor is represented by the distance of which the timer piston is moving by the timing control valve as a numeric valve.